Good evening and welcome to the June 2022 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members, Mike Kavanaugh, Sarah Howard, Janice Mulhoff, Craig Moody, Mary Spurgeon, Eric Williams, and Rick Yoder. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, our General Counsel Steve Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts also are participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we have a couple members of the public at the Civic Center and about 14 attendees on WebEx, consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. As a reminder to board members, executive leadership team, and OPPD staff, please mute your microphones to reduce background noise. To members of the public, thank you for attending. You are in listen-only mode. If you have any technology questions, please use the chat feature in WebEx to communicate with the event host. If you are disconnected from the WebEx conference, we ask that you rejoin in the same manner as when you originally joined. I will now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location and for Javier Fernandez to provide other safety reminders. Josh?
To June's meetings. We've discussed in the past, please remember the safety protocols that we've gone over. There are first aid and fire suppression materials on either side of our room here. There's also emergency exits located at the same locations. In the event of any type of severe weather or evacuation, myself, Joe Lemaster, as well as deputies that are present in the building will assist everybody in the room to those exits and also to those safe areas. In addition, for everybody that is attending via virtual, we always remind people that wherever you're attending, it's a good idea to keep track of your own first aid and fire suppression materials, and also ensure that you have someone that knows where you're at in the case of any type of emergency so you can reach out to them. One last thing, we have reached the time of the year when it's very hot, so I'd also mention to everybody that it's a good time to make sure that you're staying hydrated and keeping yourself safe from any type of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So again, welcome and thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. On the physical safety, I'm going to skip the topics that you already covered, but really just the one thing that was not covered, and it's very unfortunate that in this world we continue to see acts of violence, a lot of these active shooters and mass shootings. These things happen, and I would remind everyone that should we ever have an incident like that, of course, we have the deputies here that would help. At OPPD, in our facilities, we have a protocol that we would run first. That's why it's really important to have a good physical awareness of your location and where would you run. And if you can't run, where would you hide? And if that is not an option, then the last option is to fight. So that's an active shooter, and that's what usually we refer to when we are in OPPD's facilities as Code 32. On the right of the screen, I'm going to touch on psychological safety. There are many aspects of psychological safety, something we promote at OPPD. It's just as important as physical safety. And I'm going to touch on the culture of curiosity. And this is a way for all of us to embrace that culture of curiosity. When people are asking questions, ask in the spirit of seeking to understand, sharing information, sharing ideas, not being shy about wanting to know more, wanting to learn about other people's perspectives, because that is really what makes us stronger as a team. Next slide, please. Josh already talked about heat-related and illness prevention, storm preparedness. Of course, June is a peak month for tornadoes in Nebraska. We just experienced a tornado, a confirmed tornado 2 days ago in our service territory in Cass County that took down quite a few structures. And so these things happen often, and it's important for us to be prepared. Make sure that you have all the alarms ready and that you have a place to go. And especially if you're out and about, if you're out hiking or biking or you're in your vehicle, what would you do if if a tornado warning and alarm goes off and you're not in a place where you can seek shelter in a basement. I think it's really, really important for all of us to understand what plan do we have to be ready. I mentioned this on Tuesday as well, avoiding sprains, strains, and tears. It is the largest cause of issues that result in DART cases, days away or restricted or transferred. When an employee gets hurt, you could be starting a job without the proper warm-up or without the proper ergonomic design. And those soft tissue injuries oftentimes result in longer time for recovery. So we promote that, and we ask that you take good care of your environment before you start a physical job. And the next slide. I think that's okay. So that concludes my safety briefing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's run through our guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on oppd.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are a part of the official public record. After board discussion on each pending matter, I will ask for public comment before bringing the matter to a vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We will take comments in the room and via WebEx. Let's first review the two options for WebEx attendees to notify us. Option 1, which is being displayed now, involves sending the meeting technology host a message using the chat feature, simply stating that you wish to speak. Ms. Henners?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. For those who have joined us using a computer or WebEx mobile app, you will find a button in your WebEx interface to open the chat panel. Once opened, you may send your message to the meeting technology host. Requests to provide comments will be relayed to Chair Bogner for recognition during the public comment section.
Option 2, which is being displayed now, involves the hand raise feature. Ms. Henners?
WebEx allows attendees to virtually raise their hand. You may use this feature to indicate to OPPD that you wish to be recognized to provide comments. The hand raise button can be found in the lower control bar of WebEx. After you have provided your comments, please press the hand raise button again to virtually lower your hand. And for those who have joined the meeting using only a telephone, WebEx has a hand raise feature that is activated by pressing *3 to raise and lower your hand. When we see your hand raised, we will acknowledge you by referencing a portion of your phone number. For example, caller with the phone number beginning in 402123. If you wish to provide comments when recognized, please wait a brief moment to be unmuted and begin speaking. And at this time, if you would like to try testing the hand raise feature, you may do so as a test.
I'll allow plenty of time at each opportunity for public comment for members of the public to provide notification via WebEx. When I call on a member of the public to speak, our meeting technology host will unmute your microphone. Before commencing your comments, I suggest you first affirm that we can hear you. Please state your name and address and state the name of any organization or person you are representing. Organizations should choose one representative to speak on their behalf. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending at the discretion of the board. To assist you, we will display a timer on the WebEx screen to ensure each member of the public receives a consistent amount of time. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use a timer that will be displayed on the screen. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. Please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitive, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from polling the board as such vote is not on the agenda and prohibited by law. If you have written materials, please email them to Ms. Hinners at mfhinners, that's MFHINNERS @oppd.com, and she will receive them on our behalf. For those at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center, please hand your materials to Ms. Hinners. In summary, we will take WebEx comments first, then in-room comments, then have a last call. Ms. Hinners, will you please take the roll call?
Bogner,
Here.
Kavanaugh,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Molhoff,
Here.
Moody,
Here.
Spurgeon,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Yoder.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald, OPPD Outlets newsletter, OPPD.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on June 10th, 2022. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on OPPD.com and in this meeting room. The consent agenda items for this evening are as follows. Item 6, approval of the April 2022 comprehensive financial and operating reports, May 2022 meeting minutes, and the June 16th, 2022 agenda. Item 7, SD 15 Enterprise Risk Management Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6507. Item 8, Annual Health Plan Report, Resolution number 6508. Item 9, Appointment of Small Cap Growth Investment Manager for Retirement Fund, Resolution number 6509. And item 10, Appointment of Private Credit Investment Managers for Retirement Fund, Resolution number 6510. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda items, I need a motion and second to approve.
So move.
Second.
We discussed these action items at the All Committees meeting on Tuesday, June 14th. Do any members of the public have comments on these consent agenda items? If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. In-person attendees can line up behind the microphone. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any requests to make a comment? All right, no chats or hand raises, so we will proceed to the vote. Ms. Hinners?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Molhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams, Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 11, corporate officer reviews and compensation adjustments. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the compensation adjustments for the following corporate officers, Kate W. Brown, Scott M. Foch, Lisa A. Olson, and Troy R. Vi, as set forth on the Exhibit A attached hereto, be and hereby are approved.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Director Moody?
Okay, colleagues, some of you may recall that on occasion when we've done performance reviews and compensation adjustments for executives, we kind of do them on a one-by-one basis when their anniversaries come up. We've decided to streamline our process a little bit. And so today, 4 of them are before you for your approval. As a reminder, just to quickly summarize what our process has been, we started working on this in the governance committee probably sometime in April, had our first governance discussion about it at our May governance meeting. We as a group discussed this in closed session at our May all committees meeting, and then it was briefly discussed during the chair's report at the public session of the all committee meeting. Most recently, on Tuesday this week, we brought it, there were no comments from the public until then. We brought it back to the all-committee meeting, and Javier, again, summarized for the public some of the exceptional performance of these 4 individuals. And here we are for a vote. I'll just really be quick and say a few things. One is, as you all know, we've had a pretty significant evolution of our executive leadership team. For the last couple of years, we brought on a new CEO, and then we've had some new folks join that team, all of which I'm very excited about. These four individuals are no exception to my excitement. They've been doing wonderful, wonderful work, all of them adding really, really exceptional value to the organization. And they all also have big lifts in front of them as the work continues to unfold. There's no doubt about that. These are four really, really important positions being occupied by four people who are doing great work. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Retention. This is a retention thing for me. Turnover is hard and expensive and challenging and creates all sort of conflicts. And in my view, we need to continue to do our work to avoid that retention. These are people that we want to stay on the team. We want them continuing to do the good work that they're doing. And so from my standpoint, these compensation adjustments are appropriate. They're aligned with where their peers are in the marketplace, while retaining some growth opportunity as well. So I'll leave it there and open the floor for any other comments.
Director Spurgeon?
Thank you, Director Bogner. I fully support these recommended salary increases as well. These are not normal times for OPPD. While OPPD continues to carry out its mission to provide affordable and reliable and as environmentally responsible energy generation and distribution as we can, in order to continue to do this in the future, we have to ready ourselves for that future. So we are already entering a transition time. And so all of the work that is the normal work is being done. And then in addition, there are just a bunch of initiatives that are being carried out in order for us to be successful in the future. And so this is just an awful lot of work to do. These members of the executive leadership team are the ones who are carrying that burden. So we are asking a great deal of all OPPD employees and all of the team that leads them. So I just want them to know that their efforts are very much appreciated. I also appreciate the process, the transparency, and also the parity between the males and the females here. That is a great thing. I don't know who started it, but I'm really glad to find it here in OPPD. So I'm going to say thank you to Ms. Brown, Ms. Olson, Mr. Vi, and Mr. Focht. Thank you for your service. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you stay with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we'll move into the public comment period. Do any members of the public have any comment on this action item? If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any requests to make a comment? Okay. If anyone in the room would like to make a comment, please proceed to the microphone. Seeing no movement, Ms. Henners, will you please call roll?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 12, SD2 rates monitoring report, resolution number 6512. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District accepts the SD2 rates monitoring report in the form as set forth on Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, and finds OPPD to be sufficiently in compliance with the policy as stated.
Director Yoder?
Yeah. I move that we accept the monitoring report.
Second?
If I could.
You may.
Thank you. I have a few observations about the monitoring report. This is the first and the last time that this monitoring report is about SD2 as it is written. Last year, we we removed some language about a 5-year commitment to, and we followed that up with an increase in rates. Looking forward, I expect a rewrite of SD2 as well will be coming down the pike, especially since have been working on it for some time. And next week, we do start with a public survey on Tuesday and a board workshop on Wednesday. So there will be some changes again to SD2. So looking at this specific monitoring report, I'd really want to commend OPPD's teams that have been working on and responding to affordability in our district. I think the work here has been exceptional. The dive into to primary data, I mean, going out, finding the information, putting it together, presenting it to the board, I think has been exceptional. And these efforts exemplify OPPD's core values. With that, I just want to say on behalf of the Finance Committee, we do put this forward to the board and hope that you all support the monitoring report.
All right, thank you. Director Williams.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm also looking forward to the workshops and identifying goals that will help us to update SC2 in the future and find action steps toward continual improvement. We've made really great progress recently, and we've got several areas where additional improvement has been identified. The data presented in the report on Tuesday helped us to recognize how different people are impacted differently by our rate structures and point in a direction of what we need to do about that. Identifying the values that are associated with the rate making process is a critical portion of the work. And so starting next week, I'm really looking forward to connecting those two parts of the work that we do. I mention it often, but I feel very strongly about the new technology that will enable more advanced rate making that is not possible today. There is new impacts, both positive and negative, to our system. And having the technological and communications ability to set rates for time of use and electric vehicle charging and distributed energy resources, I strongly believe will be beneficial both to our customer owners and to the operations of our district. And so again, anything that we can do to accelerate the deployment of that technology so that we can in the future update SD2 and update our rate making process to use that new technology to our benefit, I am strongly in support of. So I look forward to that being carried out in the future. Again, great progress here. I think we have some more work to do, but I do support the progress that we have made today and as reflected in the monitoring report here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll move into public comment. Do any members of the public have any comment on this action item? If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any requests to comment?
Alan Favolka.
All right, Mr. Volka? Mr. Volka, we should be able to hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
All right, I would like to separate the two issues of accepting the report, which seems very good, and saying that we're in compliance. If the goal is 20% below and we're 8% below, those seem significantly different to me. The other thing I would like to say about rates is that the goal is clearly not appropriate, and I'm glad to hear that there's going to be a workshop that revises the rate structure, and hopefully that will come with new goals. I'm hoping that those new rates involve incentives for conservation and for distributed generation, especially in light of Tuesday's announcement that closing the North Omaha plant will be pushed back 3 years because the Power with Purpose, the first major step toward decarbonization, is also being pushed back. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. For the record, could we get your address, please? Or have we already, I'm sorry, have you already been muted again? I think we
Am I
have.
unmuted now?
Okay, yep, we can hear you again. Thank you.
3719 Hamilton Street, Omaha, Nebraska.
Thank you very much. Are there any other requests to make a public comment on this action item?
Mark Welsh.
Mr. Welsh? Okay, we should be able to hear you.
Great, thank you. My name is Mark Welsh, Welsch. I live at 5611 Howard Street here in Omaha, Nebraska. And I'd just like to build on what Alan just said, that your goal is not appropriate. Reducing rates is only one of your three major mission statement objectives. Your mission statement, I'll remind you, is to provide affordable, which is related to your rates, reliable, which is the second item, and environmentally sensitive energy services to your customers. Now, you need to focus more on your environmentally sensitive services because they are the ugly stepchild that are only, I shouldn't say only, but usually only being done if it's not going to impact the affordability of your energy. In this day and age, when every pound of coal and gas that is burned by OPPD is harming the environment, every pound of coal and gas that is burned by OPPD is harming the largest employer in the state of Nebraska, which is agriculture. Western and northern and southern Nebraska is burning, partly because OPPD continues to burn coal and gas. I would like to know when, I know you can't answer this question now, I guess, but I'd like to know when is OPPD going to protect the number one industry in Nebraska with agriculture by ending the burning of fossil fuels. Alan, I think, mentioned too that when you delay the ending of burning coal in North Omaha by 3 years, you need to change your 2050 date of being net zero emissions of carbon dioxide to a much sooner date, because now that 2050 date is probably 2053. And I think you need to change it to 2035 so that when
30 seconds.
so when other things cause that goal to not be met, it won't slip past 2050. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other requests for comment?
There were no additional chats or hand raises.
Okay, would anyone in the audience like to make a comment on the SD2 rate monitoring report action item? If so, please move to the microphone. Okay, seeing no movement, we'll move to roll call. Ms. Henners?
Wagner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mohoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 13, SD 11 Economic Development Policy Revision, Resolution number 6513. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the revised board policy SD 11 Economic Development be and hereby is approved effective June 16, 2022, as set forth on the Exhibit A attached hereto.
On behalf of the PI committee, I move that the board approve the revised economic development SD. Second.
Director Mulhoff?
So I'll tee it up just for a minute and then I'll close. Economic development, as you know, means different things to different people. And some people just jump directly to data centers and distribution warehouses in Sarpy County. But I also see vibrant and thriving communities in Blair, Valley, Ashland, along with revitalized main streets across the area. So we can take comments from the other board members and then I'll finish.
Okay. Director Yoder?
Yes, I think, well, I'm happy to see the progress that's been made. There's a lot of effort that has gone into this, and I am happy to see the move forward. And I recognize, and the comments made during the committee meeting about not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good are they are good for me too. I would say that as we move forward, that we accept these SDs as living documents, that we understand that the changes that we make today are not written in stone, and that we do address in some future time the opportunities that we still have to make it an improved document. The three items that I found as areas for improvement, I think we had some discussion on Tuesday about the openness of the document and the board's role in providing some direction sometime. I think this document is still fairly open and would have liked to have seen a little more direction. I found the language about attracting businesses, I think a little problematic in a fully employed economy. And the last bullet about I really wish we were able to quantify the return on investment for all of our customers for the activities that are included in the last bullet. Having said that, I have these items that stuck out for me. I still intend to support this, and I'm happy for the improvements that have been made. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Director Williams?
Yeah, thanks. I know this update has been in process for a while, and I appreciate the work of the PI committee and everybody on the executive leadership team and staff who worked so hard to get this to where it is today. I feel that the language is an improvement from where we currently are, but it does still leave some ambiguity. And as Director Yoder said, room for continual improvement in the future. As discussed on Tuesday, I hope that the governance committee can help us to identify a process for codifying some of the discussion that goes along with the SD language updates, even if it's not written on the page in the manual. There is a lot of input, and I think capturing that would be very beneficial to the board and the staff and the public so that we understand in future monitoring reports what was intended by the policy as approved. I think that we have iterative steps that will help us to continue to move toward the long-term goals as we do in other SD updates. And particularly, I think it's critical that we recognize that all parts of our mission, including an honest understanding that additional growth and consumption can have additional environmental consequences, should be understood not exclusively in SD7, but in other directives as well. We talked about different types of economic development and economic growth on Tuesday. And I appreciate the fact that that became a part of the discussion for, to my knowledge, the first time this year. I hope that we continue to recognize there are different types of additional consumption, and sometimes they are beneficial and sometimes they are not. And knowing the difference is critical. And I would like to see some of that reflected both in our policy and in the way that we monitor what happens from the economic development activities that are undertaken by the district. So again, I appreciate the work that has been done to date. I think this is a good step forward. I look forward to reviewing the monitoring report that will come from this policy in the future. And I look forward to supporting this as is displayed today. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Director Moody?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. I too would like to echo the gratitude and appreciation for the work that went into this. If I recall correctly, we started working on SD11 when Rick was on the PI committee, which feels like forever ago. So here we are. And so thanks to Rick for getting it started, and Janice, sincere gratitude to you for shepherding this through the process. I know, a quick tweak and refine to an SD can get done, but this is a pretty significant improvement to the SD, and that takes time and energy and effort and leadership. So Janice, thank you to you, and thanks to the committee as well, and the staff that put in a lot of time writing it. So I acknowledge that there's been a heck of a lot that's gone into it, and it is an improvement. It's meaningfully better. That's undeniable to me, and I'm grateful that we're going to have something that's improved as we go forward. As I said on Tuesday, I'm uncomfortable, and as I've been reflecting on that conversation and trying to explore why, for me, part of what I think it boils down to is I have an expansive view of how OPPD shows up in the community. And economic development feels too narrow to me, quite honestly. I think the ways in which we help build communities, help improve communities, and help solve community needs and problems is something that is important. I think for me as a board member, us as a public power entity, this is one of the things that I think we need to continue to lean into. I really, really like the idea of OPPD being in the room and helping communities to make better decisions and moving towards a better, brighter future for all of us. So for me, I guess part of what it boils down to is we didn't go far enough, and that I don't want that to equate with displeasure with what we have. But for me, it's really about continuing to push the envelope to think about how we show up in the community. Thank you.
All right, Director Molhoff.
Thank you. OPPD's team has excelled in their efforts over the years in the traditional concept of growth. However, with the new decarbonization goal and with a stronger focus on affordability and sustainability, the board decided to revise this SD, and thanks to Rick for getting that process started. This new language really reflects the 2050 vision of lower emissions, stronger communities, and more robust customer engagement. Vice President Olson's team was very proactive in reaching out to local development organizations throughout the district with the new language. It is especially important that we are trusted partners with these entities to optimize existing infrastructure, that the OPPD team has a seat at the table where decisions for economic development are being made. In counties and communities making zoning decisions, and with businesses large and small who are relocating or expanding. I agree that while the language might not be perfect, the directional focus of the new SD11 will continue to promote community well-being, address workforce needs, and enhance quality of life for our customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we'll move to public comment. Do any members of the public have any comment on this action item? If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. I understand that Mr. Walsh would like to make a comment.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd really like to know what OPPD has done and is going to do to reduce the chronic poverty, especially for families with children, and the very high unemployment rate in North Omaha. I see nothing in here that addresses that huge, huge problem that we've had in our community for decades. And if OPPD wants a seat at the table, I think that's a table you should pull your chair up to and work on. It's a desperate problem in our community. And also on another note, I'm wondering if Sarpy and other counties are going to make it difficult to get a solar farm built in those counties, could OPPD create a rate or a special rate for that county for new businesses or do something to discourage new businesses from going into those counties where they are not helping OPPD. Why should OPPD help counties that are not helping us? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, are there any other requests to chat? No. Okay, no, if anyone in the room would like to make a comment on this action item, please move towards the microphone. Okay. Last call on WebEx attendee comments.
Ryan Wishart's raised his hand.
Okay, Mr. Wishart.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here from out of town. This is Ryan Wishart. I'm speaking today as an environmental sociologist with expertise in the sociology of development at Creighton University, but I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not the university. I think given what the directors have said regarding the revisions that have gone into this SD, that I'd reiterate it's important to make a distinction between economic development, which is a complex and debated concept, and one that I think has solid statutory support for public power, and economic growth, which is a cruder measure, usually GDP, that is widely recognized among social scientists as a unreliable indicator of community well-being and development. So one of the things I would encourage the board to reflect on is how SD11 in the past has contributed to the situation we find ourselves in regarding the delay in phasing out coal and refueling at North Omaha. My understanding is that the major data centers, which were actively recruited under that SD, created excess demand or an additional demand that's roughly equivalent to the city of Lincoln. The FAQ said demand from business and growing population were one of the main reasons why this proposal is being put forward to maintain reliability. So it seems like this is an example where you have conflicting goals that have come into tension between sustainability, reliability, and economic development. So I would have liked to seen more guidance from the board on exactly kind of what kinds of development do and do not serve the public interest, and how the other strategic directives and goals of the district are being incorporated into how SD11 is pursued. Related to this,
30 seconds.
SD2, as conversation on that continues, I would agree with other speakers that revising that goal in the direction of something like affordable bills rather than lower rates for the sake of lower rates fits well with what social science tells us about the danger of focusing on economic growth for the sake of economic growth rather than targeting specifically the kinds of development outcomes we'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wishart. For the record, could you please provide your address?
912 North 49th Street, Omaha, Nebraska.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other requests to make a public comment on this action item?
John Pollock.
Okay, Mr. Pollock.
Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
Okay, John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha, 68131. I'm just going to second several of the comments by other speakers. I see that what I don't want to see is growth for the sake of growth without thinking about what the consequences are. It does look to me like attracting the data centers to Sarpy County, which has been putting up resistance to allowing green power to be located within the county, and yet the data centers desire the patina of appearing to be green. There's a big contradiction there, and I think that if things go ahead as planned, North Omaha will end up holding the short end of the stick once again because the coal plants continue to operate. Of course, the whole planet gets the short end of the stick if we're not very cognizant going forward about how much fossil fuel we continue to burn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments?
There are no additional chats or hand raises.
Okay. All right, at this time, we will call roll. Ms. Henners?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
No.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the President's Report. Mr. Fernandez?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. I'm going to start, as I usually do, with a snapshot of our generation capability and performance in the month of May. As you can see on the screen, Nebraska City Unit 1 and 2 had a healthy capacity factor of 68.4% and 58.7%, respectively. Our North Omaha Unit number 4 had a lower capacity factor of 37.6%. Part of it, there were, of course, the outage that we completed the planned spring outage 2 days early, but that reflects that unit was offline for a number of days, as we always do with generation units in preparation for the heavy summer months. What's interesting is that the heavy summer months are coming to us a lot faster. So it was really timely to have those units up and running and ready to produce power for our customer owners. Next slide, please. Balancing generation for the month of May, as expected in these times of the year, while some of our larger units get repaired and have planned outages, this is where our balancing generation is expected to run more. And as you can see here on the screen, definitely that's exactly what happened. Our Cass County capacity factor of 4.8%, Jones Street at a little bit under 1%. North Omaha units 1, 2, and 3 ran, which is unusual for all 3 units to run, but that's, we had units not only within our OPPD fleet, but in the whole territory and SPP footprint were probably down being repaired. And we had days when we had a lot of wind, but days where we didn't have that much wind. And this is where our balancing generation was called for and our units performed as planned. Sarpy County units, a little bit more modern units, smaller units that can ramp up faster. They experience a little bit higher capacity factor of 7.4%. We're really proud of the work that the teams do, and I want to take a moment to really do a shout out to all the women and men who have worked on the planned outages, and especially the women and men who I don't thank publicly enough, but those employees who have been working at our balancing stations. These are 24/7 jobs. They have to be on call all the time to make sure that those units are ready to fire up when they're needed. Oftentimes within a half an hour or an hour advance notice, and we have people who miss birthdays and call in the middle of the night to make sure that these balancing generation is up and running. So great job from the team. Moving on to renewables. Renewable energy contributed 32.7% of OPPD's retail energy sales. Most of this is wind. The wind capacity factor for the month of May was 38%, pretty high. We're expecting it to to go even higher towards the end of the year in the fall season. That's when we typically see much higher wind penetration in the state. It's hard to believe, but we've had very windy days, and it's yet not the windiest part of the year, at least from our wind generation perspective. Capacity factor for our community solar project was 27.1%. It performed as expected, and so not a lot to report there. Next slide, please. This is another exciting time of the year for us. We've done this, well, we haven't done it. It's really the Falcons who are doing all the work. We just put the box there and have a camera, and it's incredibly rewarding to see that Mother Nature continues to adapt and takes advantage of the infrastructure that we put there for the Falcons. We had 4 chicks that hatched. Sadly, only 2 of them survived, but they are thriving. We held a naming contest, as we always do. We had almost 250 potential names that were submitted. And I want to publicly announce that the names for the 2 chicks that are thriving today, they're Lightning and Thunder. Very appropriate for our region and for this time of the year. Next slide, please. Honoring our community. June is, June and July, of course, May, we're going into parade season because the weather is nice. And I want to take an opportunity to talk about the different parades that we're going to be presenting at or having a presence in. We have the first coming here actually already happened on June 11th, the Blair's Gateway to the West Days Parade. We also had the Hometown Springfield Days Grand Parade. Coming up here on Sunday, June 18th, we'll have the Juneteenth Parade. And July 16th, this typically happens in June because June is Pride Month, but I'm guessing logistics made these happen on July 16th. We'll have the 2022 Heartland Pride Parade. Again, OPPD will have a presence there, and very proud of all the employees who honor our community, and part of that is attending those parades and supporting those communities. Next slide, please. On that same topic of honoring our community, after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID, the Public Power Day of Giving is back. And so each year, the American Public Power Association, or APPA, kicks off its national conference and its commitment to community service with the Public Power Day of Giving. So the APPA conference just concluded a few days ago, and this is how they kicked it off. We, of course, participated during the week of June 6th. Employees from all across the district participated and helped the Food Bank of the Heartland, Council Bluffs Together Food Pantry, Nebraska Diaper Bank, and Lords and Gardens by accomplishing a bunch of different tasks. And you can see here pictures. Our employees have a great time doing these. It's a great way to give back to the community. Plus, the weather cooperated, so that made it an even more enjoyable experience. Next slide, please. As was mentioned already by a couple of our board directors, we will hold next week our rate design project, which includes 2 events that are happening next week. The first one is a survey that launches on June 21st. It'll be open through July 6th. And then we will have the first of 3 board workshops that will be held on Wednesday, June 22nd. It'll be at the Metro Community College. All the details, you can find the details at the oppdcommunityconnect.com website under the rate design tab. Next slide, please. Another exciting event happened on Saturday, June 4th from noon to 4 p.m. And this was the Ride and Drive event. We did this along the Taste of Omaha event at Elmwood Park, where customers had the opportunity to experience electric vehicles from multiple regional dealerships and take one or more for a test drive. Our goal really was to give customers the opportunity to experience what does it feel driving an electric vehicle firsthand? What quirks, what pros, what cons, just demystify the concept of electric vehicle. Of course, ultimately, these choices are made by each individual customer. But in addition to test driving, we surveyed customers and had educational opportunities about EVs and charging on hand. It was a great event. We had a total of 226 rides and drives. We had a goal of 200, and we exceeded that. We had 144 41 pre-surveys completed. Again, the change in very positive perception from 45% before a test drive to a 91% positive perception after having the test drive. And I'm not surprised because I've driven one and it's truly a really positive experience. So all in all, a success for that event. Next, education is incredibly important. We've talked about workforce development, and we believe that there's really, you can't start early enough. And so a good opportunity for us to engage in our community and honor our community is to engage in education programs. The energy education program has experienced some early success this year. We launched these back on January 7th, and we've had multiple teacher workshops which teach the teachers about the complexities of the different forms of energy. Oftentimes, teachers are our best advocate. They get to talk to students about how complex it is for us to maintain the grid and to generate electricity. And so it's important for us to talk to teachers, for them to have an informed view of how complex it is to maintain and to generate electricity. During the spring semester, our energy advisor, Eric Bensala, who you can see here on a bright orange jacket. Eric is just passionate about sharing information and really engaging with the community. He taught 6 classrooms full of students about solar energy, wind energy, and even a rundown presentation of all the different forms of energy sources. All in all, a great effort by the team, and we will continue to do more of these. We have a speakers bureau. We have places in our OPPD.com website where if you're in your school, if you want these type of presentations, you can request that. We have volunteers at OPPD that would happily go and help share. So this is just a public service announcement for you to use our website. Before you move on to the next slide, I don't have a slide on these, but it's important. Another part of the president's report that I want to make an announcement, and it's really exciting. I mentioned this during a committee meeting, I believe it was last month or maybe 2 months ago. We have officially posted there's a vacancy open today. It actually opened up on Monday night. I am recruiting for a vice president of sustainability and environmental affairs to join my executive leadership team. That vacancy is going to be open through the end of July. I am taking my time. I want to make sure that I find the right person with the right skills to continue to help us lead and balance. I clearly heard from customer owners just a few minutes ago that the balancing between the 3 pillars of our mission of reliability, affordability, and environmental stewardship is incredibly important. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here, is bringing that voice of environmental stewardship up to the executive table and continue to make sound decisions to make sure that we continue to advance on all 3 fronts. I want to give a big shout out again to Lisa Olson, who currently is the vice president who leads that function within OPPD, and she's done a fantastic job. And she will help me find that vice president of sustainability and environmental affairs. So I want to make that announcement. Now we can move to the last slide. The in memoriam slide, this month is for Jimmy Dobbs, who was a lineman who passed away on May 4 of 1988. Jimmy died as a result from an electrocution that occurred while he was relocating a power line for a highway project southwest of Ashland along Highway 6. Jimmy was 40 years old and had been with OPPD for 14 years at the time of his death. He was a kind of person who picked people up when they were a little down, said Jack Finney, a field supervisor at Louisville. I know I speak for all the people here when I say that he was everyone's friend, on or off the job. Clearly, Jimmy left a legacy and a great memory amongst his coworkers. He was survived by his wife and daughters, Anne-Marie and Carolyn, his mother, 2 brothers, and 3 sisters. A very important and sober reminder that the work that we do is dangerous, and it's important for us to support our line workers, every employee, and to provide the safety equipment and training to remind us that every single day is important. We need to come home safe at the end of every single workday. That concludes my president's report.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the opportunity to comment on other items of district business. Uh, For this one, instead of taking WebEx comments first, we'll take in-room comments, and then we will move to our WebEx attendees.
David Begley, customer owner, 4611 South 96th Street. Apparently, some congratulations are due to Javier for making the decision of postponing the closure of North Omaha Station by 3 years. I heard it from some other people tonight. It wasn't on the website, and I didn't see it in the World Herald, but apparently it's true. So that's a very good reality-based decision, especially in light of the fact that in Sydney, Australia, they had power outages earlier this week because they have too much solar and wind because it's unreliable. Previously, I had sent to all the board draft resolution, which basically provides that OPPD is not going to do business with criminals or people who benefit from slave labor. I amended it from what I sent to you previously in light of the fact that the Uyghur Forced Labor Protection Act becomes effective on June 21st of this year. Here's an article from the New York Times that states that the Chinese government actually does use slave labor, which I think we can all disagree, or we can all agree is a bad thing. And then I have here for your perusal is federal court judgment, United States District Court for the District of Wyoming, against ESI Energy LLC, a subdivision or subsidiary of NextEra Energy of Florida, $8 million fine, criminal fine for killing American eagles. Now, people may say, well, why would anybody kill American eagles? That's our national symbol. Well, the answer is money. The woman, doesn't make any difference if she's a woman or not, CEO of that company made $10 million last year. How'd she make so much money? Because of the federal income tax credit. So this whole solar and wind business is all about money. So what I would put to the board, what President Obama used to say frequently, he would say, that's not who we are. We're not going to do that. That's not who we are. And so I would put it to the board. I mean, will the OPPD board do the right thing and adopt a resolution not to
30
do
seconds.
business with criminals or people who benefit from forced labor? Madam Chairwoman, do you have any comment about that?
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments in the room?
Hey, everybody. My name is Mary Peck, and my address is 206 Court Plaza in Gretna.
Can you point the microphone towards
Sorry,
you?
I'm just trying to drop my cane there. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to come up here for a few moments and say a few words that I think are important, because you're not going to have your meeting next month. And I think it's important to recognize all the changes that have happened. And congratulations on your first year in service. Sorry, let's do this. In all the excitement that you've had in your first year and all the changes that you've made. And I was pleasantly surprised to see all the additions you've made to your team and all the hard work that they put in. And I want to take a moment to honor a friend of mine that is no longer with us, because this was the last time I got to see Martin Setke, was at this meeting. Not the last time I spoke to her, but the last time I got to see her was at Tim's going away retirement thing. And I think it's important to recognize her because her spirit is still very much alive in this organization, and it carries on with the people amongst everybody here, and I appreciate that. A lot of new faces, a lot of hard decisions have to be made, and it's not easy. And I think as a member of the public, you have to recognize that sometimes you're not going to make everybody happy. And I appreciate the amount of effort and time that you put into putting yourself out there in the community and explaining things to the public and being present and having open houses. Sometimes you have open or townhouses to educate, or open up web sites to talk about whatever's going on. And I think it's important to continue to do that. Push the envelope, as Chad said, on a lot of different areas. And I'm excited to see
30 seconds.
what happens going forward here. And so in honor of Pride Month, I just came up with a few things here because I know a lot of people like to complain about the waving of the flag here. But for me, when it comes to OPPD and family, if you break down the colors, red is for the heart of the community, orange is the family and environment within OPPD. Yellow is for the sunshine and the happiness and joy that comes with it. Green is the financial part of it, the money. Blue, trust, wisdom, and intelligence that you provide by hiring the best and providing the best. And purple, that creates a harmonious balance of awareness and peace within the organization. So congratulations and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. I don't see any other in-person attendees that wish to comment, so we will move to WebEx comments now. Are there any requests to make comments?
Mark Welsh.
Okay, Mr. Welsh. You should be unmuted now.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very happy that OPPD is working to use a lot more wind and solar power because it costs less than coal and gas power, and because it doesn't pollute the air and warm the planet when it generates electricity, contrary to the misinformed information that the first speaker said. Now, during the president's report, he said that summer months are coming to us faster or something like that. Well, I'd just like to remind you that the summers are coming faster and they're getting hotter because OPPD and other companies continue to burn fossil fuels. This is going to put a strain on OPPD and everybody in the world. It is already putting a strain on us. And OPPD is not a leader on this issue in Nebraska. Lincoln Electric System is the leader with a net zero date of 2040. 2040. I think OPPD can do better than this. I think you could set a goal of 2035 and meet that with a very small increase price to our customers. Now, you mentioned also that the North Omaha units 1, 2, and 3 were put into service. I'm pretty sure those are being run now by natural gas, and 4 and 5 are there waiting to burn low sulfur coal. If that's not correct, I hope somebody will correct me. And the last statement is when you make a definition, when you talk about renewables, and renewable energy contributed 32.7 of OPPD's retail energy sales. Why is the word retail in that sentence? Are you trying to sugarcoat something? Are you hiding something? I would like to know, what is the renewable energy contributed? How much energy from renewable energy is for all of the energy you make? Not what, and how in the world can you
30 seconds.
how can you differentiate between what energy is being generated and used for retail sales as opposed to other sales? Are you lumping all of the renewable energy into retail sales so that you can hide how much dirty energy is being sold somewhere else? I'd like some transparency here. And board members that ran on transparency, I hope you would like transparency too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. CEO Fernandez, would you like to address the question regarding retail sales and the use of that term?
Certainly. The goal of SD7 was revised a couple of years ago and really was changed the emphasis from percent of renewables to really the ultimate goal, which is reduce emissions. In terms of transparency, you can go to OPPD.com and we have plenty of information about the emissions that we have on not only on CO2 but on many other greenhouse gases by station, and so we have increased transparency. One of the challenges that we had when we were trying to measure, well, what is it, renewables percent of what, gigawatt hours, it got confusing when we were trying to figure out and explain to the public how many gigawatt hours we were generating through our renewable resources. And through a lot of discussion, we realized, well, let's pick a metric that is common, that we can compare that production of renewable energy to something that is tangible, that is more stable, and that is our retail energy sales. No, the retail energy sales do change and they grow year over year, but it's a more stable statistic where we can then compare the gigawatt hours that our renewable resources produce against these this metric of retail sales. We got away from measuring that against all of our sales because all of our sales vary. They vary significantly. A lot of times we are selling a lot more power into the market when other utilities in the region are not generating. Let's say you have one of our neighbors has a major plant outage. We would be exporting a lot more power by nature of the market. Sometimes we will be exporting a lot less power, but it has nothing to do with our generation or the consumption of our own native load. That is the reason why we chose retail sales as a more stable statistic where we can then compare how is our renewable fleet performing against these more stable statistics. Hopefully that clarifies things.
I think it does. May I ask a quick question? So that retail then actually really focuses then on our communities and what our community consumption is and the percentage of what our community has consumed as a percentage of renewables.
That is correct. And let me be clear. Those two numbers are not necessarily tied together. It doesn't mean that every single gigawatt hour that is produced by renewable power is consumed one for one by our customer owners. It's a measure that helps us translate and be transparent with the public. Say how is our renewable fleet performing and how much of it is how big of a contribution it's making towards our portfolio. And so.
Okay, thank you. All right, I also have a request to make a public comment from Mr. Alan Volka. Mr. Volka, I'll unmute you now.
Okay, Alan Bavoka, 3719 Hamilton Street, Omaha, Nebraska. I just wanted to express the disappointment I felt when I heard that the Power with Purpose reliability recommendation was going to be to extend the North Omaha coal burning units. I realized that many other people were disappointed, including, I believe, employees of OPPD and the president himself, Mr. Fernandez. However, I'd like to focus in for a moment on one of the slides that was presented, not at this meeting, but at the Tuesday meeting, under Power with Purpose Reliability. There's a PDF there. And on slide 13, which describes the recommendation to extend North Omaha, it says, as the fourth sub-bullet of the first bullet, balance environmental impacts and reliability needs by exploring the possible options to minimize North Omaha Station coal unit emissions if system conditions allow, along with pursuing interim grid interconnection service for Power with Purpose generation. Now, those possible options will help, but they won't entirely offset 3 years worth of burning coal. A goal that would offset that would be moving the net zero carbon goal to 2035 rather than 2050. The study that many of us participated in, both employees and members of the public, said that there would only be a marginal increase in cost to shoot for 2035 instead of 2050. That way, when we miss that goal by a few years, we could still have a celebration of achieving something significant, rather than if we miss the 2050 goal by a few years due to other unforeseen things which will occur. That would be, well, basically a disaster and no cause for celebration at all. So I'd like to suggest that one of the options for the board is to push this recommendation from August into September, since there seems to be no overriding reason it has to be done immediately, and pair it with a resolution to change the target goal from 2050 for net zero to 2035. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the comments. We will move now to John Pollock. Mr. Pollock.
Yes, John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. Going to do weather first. President Fernandez is correct that our springs have been getting shorter. We've been having cold midwinter weather into February and a very rapid warm up, which has, of course, been cutting into the maintenance season, as he noted. Another thing that we have in the spring, a lot of times when it gets hot, the humidity is low. However, this heat wave is what I would classify as a summer heat wave. We are in an excessive heat watch for Saturday through Monday, or we're anticipating hazardous conditions. And I can tell you that we are just north of a stationary front. To the south of that front, Topeka has the hottest heat index in the entire country because they're 96 degrees with extremely high humidity. And in addition, forest fire smoke from the western fires is pooled up in that air mass. It is going to be coming north this weekend. It'll be with us early next week. Probably the most challenging day will be Monday, but we will also be getting a significant amount of wind. So our wind generation, in addition to the solar, will be helping us. We think that next, about Tuesday, we'll have another cold front. At that point, there will be a danger of a derecho because it's often associated with these very hot, humid conditions followed by a cold front. That'll push the hotter air further south, but it will not end the heat wave. The southern portions of the SPP will continue to experience extreme heat, even when we're getting a little relief, and the heat dome is not going away. So there's a distinct possibility that that heat will be back with us again after a few days of relief. So
30 seconds.
thank you. Not looking good. I would attribute some of this to global warming, although we certainly have had our heat waves in the past. This combination of heat and humidity is getting more frequent than it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have Francis Mendenhall. Dr. Mendenhall? You should be unmuted now.
Okay, I'm Frances Mendenhall. I live at 3715 Hamilton. And I was sickened really by the thought of putting off the discontinuation of burning coal in North Omaha by 3 years. I listened Tuesday, and I get it that there's some reasons that are going to be hard to deal with, but honestly, who's really trying to deal with the bureaucracy at the level of SPP? So that's one thing. Another thing, I'm grateful for the comments about advancing the date for decarbonization from 2050 to 2035. I think that's a great idea, and it would make a big difference in the overall goal of decarbonization being possible and offsetting this 3-year delay. Finally, I heard an awful lot of discussion behind the decision to delay the stopping of the coal burning by 3 years. An awful lot of discussion of reliability issues. I heard very little about balancing that against environmental concerns. And I'm particularly interested in the public health concerns. They're not the only ones by any stretch, but I'd really like some more discussion on the public health impacts of burning coal in North Omaha. I know that the College of Public Health at UNO keeps track of that. And I recommend that you consult Dr. Khan there and the other experts. I've also heard Director Yoder talking about resources that provide data on illness and death related to these pollutants that come with coal. And I wonder if he could reference those for all of us right now so that we could all do a little more research. Thanks.
We can do that. Director Yoder? Would you like to provide Dr. Mendenhall some information about I believe it's the EPA resources that you've referenced in the past?
Sure. I think the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, has some screening tools that are available for policymakers and community members in, I forget which portion of the agency. There are a few of them, AVERT, and I can't remember all of the acronyms. I should probably look that up. Is the base model. Built on top of that is the COBRA, the Co-Benefits Risk Analysis Model. And then beyond that is another tool called BPK, BTUs per kilo. No, it's not BTUs per kilowatt. It's I can't remember what it is, but it gives a monetary value based on energy use in the region to the health consequences, not the health consequences, the health benefits of moving from fossil fuels to utility scale solar or other kinds of changes. So those are three tools of which I'm aware that are available for policymakers and the general public.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have David Corbin. Dr. Corbin, would you like to make comments? You should be unmuted now.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to be short because I'm sitting outside the fire department in Meade, Nebraska, and it's spotty connection. But I want to just register my shock and disappointment at the proposal to continue burning coal for a longer period of time. OPPD has gotten a lot of positive publicity and moving in the right direction. And then just as you get that nationally in terms of Nebraska and public power, this recommendation is made. It's disappointing, and it doesn't jive with the part about stakeholder outreach. So I know we'll have plenty of time because you're not meeting next month to talk about it more, but it's very disheartening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Corbin. Are there any other requests to make public comment?
Ryan Wishart.
Okay, Mr. Richard?
Yes, thank you. Apologies for my technical difficulties either. I've recovered my system here. And so I thought I would just share in response to some of John Pollock's comments and others. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report on climate adaptation, published in early this year, warns that where measures of economic development maintain core notions of economic growth seen in more mainstream models of development, they are less vehicles for transformation than continuations of thinking and action fundamentally at odds with the needs of climate resilient development, end quote. And OPPD's announced proposal to delay the refueling of the North Omaha plant makes reference in the FAQ to the need to respond potentially to extreme weather events. And so this may be an example of the needs of climate resilient development coming into tension with that growth orientation that the IPCC authors were warning about. So I'd like, if possible in the future, to see some discussion of, how much of the increase in demand from new business versus population growth was related to policies. I think folks will remember as well, this was a question about endogeny versus exogenous factors in the decarbonization pathways discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other requests to make a public comment?
There are no additional chats or hand raises.
Okay. Last call. Any others? Okay. Thank you all very much for participating today. At this time, we are adjourning.